So hello everyone, welcome to my review of New Game episode 11 of season 2. And yeah, this is a very important episode, right? Because since Yagami is gonna leave, that's already the big thing. Like you also have that the Naru is getting fired, not get fired, yeah, and it's kind of like it's kind of predictable, right? Like you think that nah, like because everyone is so nice in this anime, it's always the the positive result, right? It's always the end of this anime is always that everyone is happy. Kinda is. It's a feel good anime, right? So obviously Naru isn't gonna get fired, even though it's kind of points out. I mean, I would say it's very predictable. Because, I mean, I called it after. I was like, oh yeah, Nan, she's of course gonna save her. I was like, yes, of course she does. Even though they're enemies and they're rivals. Nan, she's like, I will save you. I like you, Naru. You have a poor life. And it's like, yes, of course, she's gonna help her. Without even being smug about it, it's like, I am the greatest coder, or sorry, no, debugger, yes. And I can code, that's yeah, it's like, I'm the greatest debugger ever, Neneshi, plus coder nowadays, let's do it. Of course, that's gonna happen, right? So, the biggest thing for us, right, it's Yagami and Tomoya, yeah, it's like, she sees it, and of course, as I seen earlier, where he talks to, what's her name? Christina, right there, Christina. Christina. The Dan, it's a French, yeah, so yeah, whatever. And then from that, and then we see them later, and it's like, yeah, so obviously, just using her help to get another job at another game company. It should be easy for her, of course. She's like a famous, young, very high career, very, like a burst out star, right? What it seems, at Eagle Jump during her early years with the first fairy stories and so on. So, it should be quite easy for her to change the job, given that she's young, but also her name is very recognizable. So, if anything, one thing she probably will get, I'm thinking of the way here, is generally, my own experience, but it's just kind of how it works, right? She should get a really high salary, like it's from that. Not high, but like much higher. Just give, yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how it's in Japanese companies, but it works in a similar way, right? I have a lot of friends that work in Japan. And of course, like if you change companies, you can have some. I mean, obviously she's working at Eagle Jump. She's like their famous lead artist, whatever, and so on. Yeah, like general director of art and titles, right? And if she clearly has a very safe job there, if they would lose some income, they probably would keep. I mean, of course, if a studio would go completely down, everyone gets kind of laid off and so on, right? But as it goes right now, we can see it's going pretty well for the company, right? And obviously she has like a very high position there, very good name and so on and so forth. So obviously she would be like, yeah, like if they would have some kind of backlash and we lost some money on that game, yeah, they probably wouldn't fire her. Like that would be very that wouldn't happen. That would not happen, right? That would be kind of weird. So obviously she's safe, and just that alone, you always have a much better position, right? When you apply for a job and so on, like it's generally like, yeah, okay, you're changing this job because of X reason. Oh, you want the challenge, or you want this thing, or you want that thing. Not really because it's like, oh, I need a job. And yeah, it's like a famous good name. So she used to get a really high salary. So in that sense, it makes a lot of. I mean, I don't know why she's in a new job. We don't really learn that, but I would say that it makes a lot of sense, at least economically wise. I mean, I'm assuming this, but it just feels like yeah, she probably can demand quite the salary increase. That could be it, but that doesn't feel like Yagami Kou to me at all. So it's probably a lot more about she not feeling challenged or and so on, right? Maybe the Oba beat her, but I don't really think that. I think it's more like she wants something new, doesn't do some other games. I think she want to move around, yeah, move away from that thing. I think that's it, and I don't think she will do it. That's the question. Will she do it? Obviously, that will be like the finished conclusion next episode. Then probably some OVA and so on. But I can't see her doing it really because it feels like she's a very important character for the whole structure of the anime. Like her couple, so to speak, her coupling, her dating, whatever you want to call it, Tomoya, for example, is not very important. Yeah, I said it. No, but she really isn't. Like she has the kind of she's the mama role, kind of the more mature, grown-up character. Where Hasukai is their weird uncle, right? She's like kind of grown up. He's like, do this and so on. So, things that they could pretty much replace her and have another, like, typical older lady that's like, no, you work here, you do this, and be kind of the calm position, right? Of course, it would be less of her and Yagami's love thing there. She's jealous at her and so on. like he for me and her. So obviously that would be less than, so that would be boring. But that could actually work. I don't say that would happen either, but I'm saying that would make less of a change, right? Because she's generally a very background character, and sometimes her and Yagami has some jokes. Her and Naoba little, but season 1. She's barely had any screen time really in 2, I would say. Except some jokes with like Hifumi and Yagami and so on. And then of course her and Yagami, her like they have this stuff going on right there. So that is one thing I would say first off right away. If looking at it like a production wise, if Yagami would leave as an anime here, Tomoya has like no position out because she is, but all her jokes are with Yagami, like her love for her and so on. That's the thing, right? So that's one thing I think why she won't leave. It's the first actually, because then Tomoya might just leave as well because she really won't do much with any other character. So that's one thing. And if it was the reverse, then she would left. Yagami was to have all her like, oh, I'm new now, and do this thing now, and yeah, being this kind of troll, tricky people, and just being generally abusive to her co-workers, and that would still happen, right? So that would be less of an effect. So I think that's one thing. That's probably the major thing, because it would be losing 2 characters, not 1 character, because this other character can't leave with other character. Not just for love, but I mean generally as is the anime is structured. I mean, I guess you could, but it should be kind of meaningless, like a background character then appearing every now and then in season 3, hopefully. But yeah, so that probably won't happen for that alone. And also, I feel that she's a very important there, of course, Aoba and also new Momo and so on. So yeah, probably not. And also for Umiko, yeah, Yagami has a lot of relationship with her and he. For me, she is definitely one of the characters that has the most relationship and most like connected to the other characters, and also her and Christina and Hasuki. Yes, she's pretty much everywhere. It's pretty much she's one of the characters. Nanashi and her has no relationship really. Her and Hashime and Jun has very little. Has some, not so much. So yeah, but she has probably almost everyone in her net, and Aoba has almost everyone. Yeah, Aoba doesn't have Naru, right? Nanashi and like Naru is only for Nanashi and Momo. So there are a couple of characters you can see, like if you, for example, would remove Momo, what would happen then? Well, Naru would be only with Nanashi, as like that's only an Umiko a little bit, yeah, but mainly Nanashi, right? Which is kind of is how anyway, and it has of course have Naru, Momo at their home and so on. But like those things would happen, but because it kind of work, so you could look at that, for example. But if you remove Umiko, then Nanashi is way more boring, right? You introduce the same kind of times in the one as well, and so on. So yeah, so I don't think that's what the Yagami has been introduced. You switch from that because she is the character. Look at Umiko. What Umiko knows. Umiko has no connection to the other girls at the Oba Sports, at the Oba herself, but it's very little with her actually. So it's much more with Nana, right? So it's like no Yun, no Hashime, no Hifumi, nothing at all, right? Her and Harikase, the boss, they have a lot of stuff going on, yeah. And her and Yagami. So she has like 4 characters, maybe 5 that she can put yeah. But Yagami has like 8 or 10, right? So it's like she's the second highest, I would say, connected character. So that just that alone, she probably won't leave. So anyway, let's go on for the episode then. That's it in prediction. I think I'm gonna be right. Just from that, yeah, because she is. It will kill off Tomoya, and she's the second most known character, right? So with all other characters. So yeah, so all reports then, and then of course helping Naru. I think it was pretty cute, but it was very predictable. I mean, I love Nanny, and I love how Aoba hasn't had like a storyline since episode like 9 or 8 something. Like we have a Nanashi storyline for last 3 episodes in a row, right? Like the first half is Nanashi. So I love that Nanashi is doing like she's the new main character. Follow her at the programming squad. Forget about the artist. It's about Nana now, and yeah, the whole thing there is. I liked it. I mean, I'm not really lose much programming, but I have programmed it in the past, very long time ago. But still, it's very relatable in the sense. I am like now, right? It's like just finish it. Oh, it works. I have some bugs out there later. But it was she was a little well newbie though. It's one thing because I'm the guy. I have to like, I just do that thing, right? And it's like, okay, no, it works. And then I was like, let's test it afterwards. I'm that guy. And what I mean that is that I will usually produce something, right? And then I will test it after. I know, okay, this is going to be a lot of bugs here. But it works kind of now. Okay, I know, let's beat down those bugs afterwards. That's probably how I approach it if I do something quickly. So her approach is just actually very bad. Like, it's just it's actually extremely unprofessional. It really is. She obviously get fired from that alone. Because what she did is because she did it as fast as possible, right? So she knows there's a lot of issues and bugs there. She's like, I probably did it perfect, and then she didn't even test it. So yeah, so that's just ridiculously bad. Like at my job now, right now, I will admit that sometimes like I never upload it, but I was like I will admit that sometimes I'm like, okay, I did a very small change now in the code, just like one parameter here, and I tested it, but I always test it anyway. I always run it, right? I go into which Unity, I go to Unity and I run it, and there's Unity, I think, in Unity. Yeah. So I go to Unity, I run it, say, okay, it works. Like, but sometimes, for example, I changed the unit 2-3 weeks back, and also was this one parameter change, but that just completely broke the game. Like, you summon that unit, the game is broke because that parameter apparently couldn't be over like 4 or something. It was like range was like, no, that completely created an exception. That absolutely was bad. Where if I change in the same code the one line over like 5 to 6, that would just be like, oh, you do 6 damage to 5 damage, okay, it's fine. But if you change to like, oh, I want to jump 6 range instead of 5 range, no, they can't be done. Like, that's 5 is the absolute maximum that someone has put in the game, because otherwise you could jump over here and lead the stage something. Someone's like, I have to have a shortcut to stop that or something, so it just crashes the game if someone is doing something. But I didn't know that. Like, that's kind of how it was. And I was like, I was like, what is this? Why can't I jump 6? Why can't I do this? And, oh, okay. Then I read like, so okay, that's how it works. Okay, obviously that's not exactly how it works. I can't say how it works exactly, but that's kind of in that mindset. So I won't be angry at me now. No, but really, that was not exactly how it was. But I mean, that's kind of how it was, right? Like, by changing one parameter there, I actually couldn't. That's true. I could never summon this unit. That would obviously crash the game all the time. So I had to revert that, and then I was like, okay, what's that wrong? No, actually, I remember exactly what it was actually. Yeah, I was the string wrong too. That's how it was. Yeah. So in the ASON file, I was the string wrong too. That was the issue. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what the issue was. Think about it. But anyway. So generally, when I do my small changes in the code, I always test it right, even if it's very, very minor. And I can admit though, so hopefully I wasn't stealing that, but I can admit though that sometimes I test it like once or twice, and I'm like, okay, it works. So I'm also testing, not just touching the game, but testing the specific unit. So if I change unit A, I test unit A right. Okay, I play unit A for 5 minutes. Okay, it's to work. Okay, let's throw it up. Yeah, because I just changed like the damage from 10 to 11. That can't really break the game. Probably shouldn't break the game. So I test that. Okay, it's 11 now. It does 11 damage. Everything is correct. If you have 6 shield, you hit 11. You will take 5, and like everything seems to be fine. Okay, set it up right there. So I still do that right. But I will admit that and say sometimes I maybe should test it for half an hour instead of 10 minutes or whatever. But also, which is one thing I did like the episode, because they didn't explain it. That was very lazy. And I said that I had suspect of disbelief when I watched it. But it's like we have, of course, version control, which is just, I thought it's college, what is it, more than 10 years ago, because I'm old. We had a course in that pretty much. I used Apache subversion control, like the second course we used coding with. Right, that's something you learn very, very early. I won't say I'm the best at it, like setting up and so on, but I have set it up in the past. But generally, so much better, software architect and so on do it with me. I'm a designer, so I don't touch that stuff in that sense, like the actual back stuff. But like, generally, I get the workshop, and so I know that if I do this issue here, like we are dispatched, I do this issue here, we can actually just go back. I know that we have a backup, so if I break the game here, that's bad, of course. We can still go to an older branch, or we can go back using the main branch, or we can take that thing and use that, and that's something we use right currently. But I mean, let's see. Yeah, I can't think of any time I ever worked in a game industry at a company where we didn't have to kind of back up. Like I remember when I was in college then, so this is my fourth year or fifth year, so I was in my master's, and we did this game, and I was the like software manager and all of that, good project manager and so on. And I always had a backup. Like we used some subversion system I set up, a simple one, and I saved the backup to my own hard drive. Like once a week or so, or once a day, I probably saved the whole thing. It's like, okay, every code, every script, every assets, like a 2-3 gig file, I saved it, like, and I patched them up on my hard drive because I'm paranoid. But I did that like at least once a week or so. So after the worst case, I even had it like in like a external hard drive with all the different versions, or like most of the different versions with major updates. And they actually was useful too, because one guy actually did break it. Like kind of how did it? Yeah, one guy actually did break it, and we had to go back like 4 or 5 days or so. And then I just said to them, okay, I have this thing, the hard drive, external, non-touch system. I uploaded it again, completely, absolutely workable. It will revert like 2-3 days of everyone's work. Because he uploaded more stuff, right, and so on during those days. It's like, we're unsure when you actually broke it. Was it Monday? Was it Tuesday? I have this like last Friday pure build. Yeah, before you touch the stuff, okay, let's take that one off the grid kind of backup right there. So it's good to have. But that's kind of what I mean here. It's kind of like, they felt a little weird because they're like a very serious, successful game company. They would have like Umiko is a very, very good lead programmer, right? That she would be like, oh, we can just go back. I have this like 2 days back file. I remember at the Wish, for example. I can't say too much, but I remember this was hilarious when I worked in there, and we had this like, we were working like for 2 days or something. Did a lot of stuff, like a lot of some of the latest builds of the whole game, and we did a lot of testing. We did a lot of balance stuff and some updates, everything, right? And then it's like, we done it for like Monday, started Monday, and it was like Wednesday, 5 o'clock or something. And my boss comes and is like, oh, you can stop everything you're doing. I was like, what? Oh, they realized this build, even though it's supposed to be like the last, like second to last build or something like that, it has this issue. Or like, oh, you want to add in this intro again. So this build is like, whatever, you have to scrape it. I was like, oh, but we did all this stuff, and we have to do everything again tomorrow, right? And I was like, oh no. And it's like, yeah, and everything has to be done on Friday. And it's like, we need to have hold this like checklist, everything finished on Friday. And I was like, man, we had like 2 days on us now extra, so we could like just polish stuff. Now we have to redo it from scratch again, the basic stuff again. I'm like, oh, you have to come in early tomorrow, pretty much. Yeah, you have to come in early tomorrow. I was like, no, who did this decision? I was like, no, who did this decision? I don't want this. Like, yeah, that happens sometimes, right? So, but then you go back 1 or 2 days. Usually, that's kind of what I mean. Yeah, usually you will go back like 1 verse a week, which is of course very much. It could be a lot much. They have at least 7 programmers, so they have a pretty big company, a big like generally mid-sized company at least. But yeah, if they have like 7 programmers at least, I think we have Hashim has set it 4 more riggers, right? So there's like 5, and still a designer, and have at least 1 more designing squad. It's like 9 people, 8, yeah, 9 there, 12. And then you have 19, 20. There are at least 21 people working there. At least. At minimum. Yeah, at minimum. So that's not the biggest game company ever, but it's like some size. But that's just like very, very minimum. It's throwing out like absolutely minimum. And that's not counting in anything else into core teams except one Christina then. So this will have like, you know, commercial people doing community, and people doing ads and everything else. So yeah, absolutely bare minimum. It's 21 people. Probably at least double that. So that's like it's a decent company at least. But yeah, like that is this belief thing, you know. And I know I'm bumming, but yeah, but it is. She should being a worst scenario should be like, no, the must be if you could go back 1 day or something. But I guess you have to believe that she added those mini games over a long time. Like added 1 mini game each week or something, and then like it still works now. But now when they're all in here, they just crashes. But that being said, though, as I mentioned earlier, what she did was really bad. Like, really, really bad. Oh god, it's bad. Like, I mean, seriously, you... it's one thing that you will use, like, code something. It's one thing. I say, I mean, that's how I do it. I'm a bad coder. But, like, you just add stuff in, right? And it's like, does it work? It seems to work. And then it's like, okay, let's test it for an hour. Okay, it doesn't work. Like, no, it's fix the issues. Like, that's something I would do. I prefer that system where, like, I get it to work first, and then I was like, okay, where are the issues? Where are the constant issues now? Okay, I backtrack my issues. That's probably how I do it, because I'm lazy, or lazy and crazy at the same time. But she will just upload it. She'll be like, oh, I did it as fast as I possibly can, and yeah, that's some absurd hybris. It's like, there's no issues, I just upload everything, and then test that it works. So it's like, I just throw it up and hope, and hey, I am perfect. Like, that is just, I wanted to think that she should be fired for it, almost, pretty much. I mean, it's first like college and so on. I mean, okay, it happens like once, you'd probably be like... I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? Because that's kind of the thing, because they were like, oh, we can't fix it, we can't go back, so we have to like fix it. And then it's like, I can do it. I'm the best debugger ever. And it's like, okay, fine. But it's like, you probably would be more like, oh god, you really screwed up there. Okay, if you're gonna go back one day, we put you up with this stuff. And then if you do it once again, you're fine. That's probably how you would do it, right? You're fine. But then you have this more, you warn now. And then if you do it once more or something else really, really stupid, you would be, you might be fired. It depends, of course. I mean, it's one thing if I sit here, like current homework, and I sit here and dabble a little bit, I want to do this thing and this thing, and then I accidentally press the button, and that might sound, but that might happen, right? And then I was like, oh, sorry, I accidentally uploaded the wrong thing to the main branch. Can we go back one step? They'd be like, yeah, just take, then actually I can personally actually just take my own step and say, okay, I want to load the one before me, and then upload that again to main, and they actually would just override my own stuff. So I could fix it myself probably like 5 minutes max. Think about it. Yeah, but that's like, I wouldn't fire someone if they were like, oh, sorry, I uploaded the wrong stuff, and they come to me 10 minutes like in an hour, or in a certain time frame. It was like, oh, it's a mistake. Yeah, whatever, just change it. Okay, it's finished. Like that. Because I mean, I could fix it. I saw an issue. I could fix it now, right now. Right? Like I just figured out a way to fix the kind of issue in a minute. Here. That's a problem. But it's one thing if you like, because she's like, not maliciously, but almost right. She's like, I just uploaded a lot, like she did at least 3 minigames. So I uploaded 3 minigames into the game without testing it. Any of them works. I tested them on my own stuff, like in my console, just playing the game and then not entering the game and so on from the main game. Like, I guess I should do that. Like, that is just really bad. That's like ridiculously bad. That's not even close to being like, it's a silly mistake. No, that is horrible. I mean, you probably have one chance on you. I mean, I'm not a crazy guy. But you probably have one, if you're fresh out of college, or you can have like 1 or 2 chances on you. You can be kind of fair to her. I mean, she's completely new, and I mean, yeah, but that's kind of the thing. It also would be better if she lied and said like, "Oh, I was nervous," or oh, I did a mistake. I thought it was working, but she was like, "No, I thought I was perfect." Like that. That is like, I mean, yeah, like it would be easier to forgive her if she was like, "Oh, sorry, I tested it, I uploaded it." And I thought it was working because I tested it for like a day or for 5 hours on my build, and it was fine here. I don't know what I did wrong. Sorry. Like then I'd be like, yeah, okay, like that's bad. But I'd be like, okay, sometimes you do test stuff, you upload them, and they still have bugs, and you don't know why. Like, obviously happens a lot. So that's completely different, right? That's completely different. It's like, I upload it, and I was like, yeah, it seems to work on my console. Maybe I didn't upload all the assets wrong or something. Like, come on, there's a lot. That's completely different. I mean, it's an absolutely different scenario where you upload something you think is fine. You actually think it's fine after testing it, after verifying it. And listen, that happens pretty much all the time. Pretty much all the time happens at different degrees, right? But she was like, I just did this stuff and uploaded it. She didn't even look at it. She was like, that's like writing a book, right? Writing an essay or whatever. You don't even spell check it once. You're just like, I have perfect spelling. You don't even press the spell checking program, like auto spell check stuff. You don't even do it. You're like, I am perfect. Up with it. Like, that's insane. Like, that was what she did. And that is like the absolute. Yeah, I'm talking about it for a long time now, but really, that's just ridiculously bad. And I think this anime did it a little badly, to be honest, because it's insane, this belief there. That she will be also that they couldn't just like backlog it and like go back and so on, or at least we should explain it like we could go back. Umiko could be like we could go back, but that would cost us like 2 weeks of work and that's not worth it and so on. It's like, oh my god, I'm ruining the game. It's like, well, you did it bad, and like they should say that. So that felt like the author probably missed out on that thing. People have like a backup, right? They have like a weekly list backup, so that shouldn't happen there. But also that it's like, wow, that is like the ridiculous issue, and it's ridiculously unbelievably bad because it's like, wow, you didn't even test, you didn't even like start it, you didn't press the start button, so it actually starts. You just wrote the code and it was like, hey, it's perfect, and then send it to someone else. You didn't like test if it at least initiates the actual stuff, let's call stuff. It's like, wow, you really broke it, and somehow you also didn't have a backup. But like, yeah, it is really bad. But sort of starting to talk about this, but it's just like I'm just thinking. The more thinking about it, the more ridiculous at least. I mean, I think it was pretty fun. It's an anime episode, but like, wow, I'm not even a programmer. I don't even work with that mainly. But I'm thinking that wow, that should really happen. It's like, maybe because I'm a paranoid guy, but I'm the kind of guy that's like, I do like one change, like I change this 5 to a 6, then I test it for like half an hour, then I go into my like, I have to test this stuff now, so it doesn't break the game. Like, yeah, I get paranoid, like, don't let me touch the main stuff, because I'm gonna break the main build, don't let me touch it. The master build, I don't want to touch it. That's kind of me, yeah. I just write my documents over here, like, don't let me touch it. That's kind of how I see it, so maybe I'm just because I'm generally very paranoid and like double checking triple checking everything that I do, but yeah, her mistake is just ridiculous. And it actually was pretty bad dialogue, the more I think about it, because Umiko was like, oh, I knew you could fix it. I wouldn't hire you if you weren't the best programmer. That's true, she's a really good programmer, but it doesn't make sense what she did. Well, okay, let's assume Naru has ridiculous hybris. She was like, I can code everything perfectly the first time. I guess that's actually more possible, I guess so. But Umiko should be like, it's not about skills, it's more about having some kind of, you know, I don't know, learning that you, yeah, generally it's like, wow, you should learn to not do this stuff and not fight with your co-workers. She did only to spite Neneshi too, like it's the absolute worst scenario too. She didn't even do it, like, I mean, yeah, Naru's a character, a horrible person. I don't know what, it's kinda right. She didn't even do it if you take it in that kind of working level, because like, wow, she broke the game, she did a horrible job, not even tested once, she uploaded it, and she did it only to spite a coworker. Like, I hate this woman, I'm gonna like that. That's the reason to. It was like pure used to mess with Nancy. She tried to mess with Nancy with fire, right? That's the only reason she did it, purely to fight with someone. It's like, wow, like that should be a huge warning for her boss there. Like, not only did she do a really bad job, she did a bad job purely to destroy someone else. She didn't even try to be helpful with her. She's trying to like destroy her. Like, she's trying to, yeah. Sorry for the long comment, but it's really weird. Like, it's really, man, more thing about it, the worse it is. And lastly, then I want to mention that I like the whole moment parts, where especially when Momo learns that Aoba had issues sometimes in life. It's like, Aoba had a rival, and she was like, yeah, she's a human. No, I don't believe it. I love that, because Momo, I was trying, right, to fight with Aoba, but she can't do it. He's like, oh, do the sacrifice with her? That was great. And of course, when Momo was playing it, because she wanted Janken, and Hashime trying to be winning, that was fun too. They were playing it, and it matched to it, oh, the graphics guy don't know the mechanics. They have no idea how the game is played. They haven't touched the game at all for this half year. Like, they have no idea. That's fun, it's fun. Classic Japanese. You sit in one cubicle, you don't even see all the stuff, you've only been here. And I love more shit to get to chapter. So if you heard about Naru, and then this part, and then the last part there, when she dies, and plays the game. And they're like, I didn't do it on purpose, I'm so sorry everyone, it was the exciting fight. And they're like, we know, I'm so sorry. I just love that. It's like, oh my god, I am so sorry that I died, I didn't mean to. Oh yeah, lastly also Umiko and Yagami. But again, that's kind of what I mentioned earlier. That's one of the classic ship anime, right? Yagami fighting with Umiko. I liked that she was like, so you're a really bad boss then. It's not like, it's just so fancy to fight. But I think this combination of she wants to fight and she wants to leave without her, right? But I like to see she was like, come on, because they're so cute when they're fighting. What should I do? It's like, come on. She's like, yeah. Oh yeah, Umiko also was referring to, it's like, oh, I have this dog. This is like similar, and I have this like cat. It's like she works, but actually does all this stuff. So, but yeah, that's the thing, right? It's one thing. Maybe it's subtle, but it's like, it's one thing if she's like, oh, I uploaded it, I tested it for like 5 minutes, it seemed to work. And she was like being sloppy. Like, I think her being sloppy with hybris would be much better. She'd be like, oh, I tested it for like 1 minute and it seemed to work and yada yada. That's more of the cat for me. Like, she was just like kind of sloppy. She kind of did, but didn't do it truly enough. But no one's more like, I just did it. It's perfect. It's like, that's crazy. That's like a crazy scenario. No one would ever do that. So, yeah, maybe subtitles. I mean, I watched the Japanese mainly anyway without reading, but still, yeah, the more I think about it, as a game developer, the more I'm turned off by that thing, because it's just so bad. It's so bad. Sorry for this little rant. I mean, it just doesn't work for me. Like, the more I think about it, I actually, when I watched the episode, I enjoyed it. And I still enjoyed the episode. I still was a good episode. Neneshi, come on, best girl. But it's like, the more I just think about specific scenario there, I'm looking at my own life, looking at just from like first college years, like, that would never happen. Like, that doesn't happen. And she's supposed to be the best, right? She's the number one in her school. And so we do that issue. I mean, this absurd hybris. So it's like, I don't know. Sorry for the rant, people. I actually enjoyed the episode. It's just that particular part when I'm more thinking about it. I mean, I'm a kind of fluid thinker, right? The more I think about it, the less I'm like, wait, that makes no sense. That would never happen. Where's the backup file? Or like, no, she's bad, but she's not that bad. So on. Anyway, see you next week for the final episode. Have a great